Good afternoon, Carl. I see you have also joined. Do you just want to test your audio and visual quickly?
Okay, cool. Can everybody hear me?
100%.
You should be able to see you now.
Can't see you yet, but I can hear you.
Okay,
there we
my
go.
Camera. There we go. My camera is on.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
Right. So, without further ado, good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to this session. It is the first of our Microsoft Elevate pathway that we're doing, organizing and utilizing Microsoft tools in education. And we are offering this in partnership with Microsoft and Zibuza, who will be managing the facilitation for us today. Lyneth Crichton is going to be our facilitator and Carl van der Merwe in support. There's not much more for me to say other than I'm going to hand over to you to take us through the next 2 hours where we're going to look at how we are able to get the best out of these tools that we all have access to and aren't necessarily utilizing yet. Just before I hand over, some housekeeping rules. Because we're expecting quite a large group, your microphones have been disabled, your cameras have been disabled. The chat is up and running, so please use the chat. Lyneth and Carl, I don't know if you are going to build in moments where they could potentially unmute themselves, but if you will,
sure.
If you can manage that, if people raise their hands and they want to say something, then I'm sure they'll be able to just give you the permission to unmute yourself, ask questions. Other than that, it's always good to have a vibrant, active chat. So please use the chat, ask questions, comment on each other's responses, and let's get the most out of this developmental opportunity. With that said, over to you.
Perfect.
There is Mr. B and everybody's going to be, I just need to mute for 1 minute while my class leaves.
Okay, cool. Right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. If everybody could just send us a little hand wave or some hearts just so that we know that you're all there and you can hear us and are listening. Great, that's wonderful. Lyneth and I are coming from Johannesburg, South Africa. We both work at Brescia House School, and you'll be able to see. Perfect, that's great. Thanks, guys. The chat's working wonderfully. Our school day is actually just ended a minute ago, so we are busy letting kids out and moving past, and we'll be with you in a second.
Sorry, you could have caught the last 5 minutes of a cat class. Welcome, everybody. My name's Lyneth Crichton. I'm from Brescia House School. I'm the head of innovation and a cat teacher. I tell my kids I'm BC, I'm from before cat. I am a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellow, which means I participate in the Microsoft Innovative Educator Program every year, and after a few years they invite you have a pattern for sharing about technology, Microsoft technologies. Carl has also done it with me. We're Microsoft Certified Educators, which is the Microsoft's exam for pedagogy. And I think there might even be some teachers on the Western Cape on this call that have written the MCE or Microsoft Certified Educator exam. I've done exams with people across the world. I've got a master's in education. I'm an author, speaker, and my most important and proud moment as I'm a mom of two. My daughter is studying to be a teacher. My husband's a teacher, and yeah, teaching is in our blood. My son's still at school. Carl, hand over to you, and then I'll go back to the housekeeping.
Perfect. Right, so there I am. I am I'm actually a qualified English and drama teacher. That moved into the head of department, and then I moved from the head of department role into, I've always kind of been in the EdTech space role, but I've moved into what we call the media and curriculum specialist role, which is I run our media center here. And on top of that, at Brescia House School, we are a Microsoft certified school. So one of the requirements for us as staff is to become Microsoft Certified Educators, MIEE trainers, well, not all trainers, but Microsoft Innovative Educators, as well as the Microsoft Certified Educator exam. I am an AI and EdTech enthusiast. I am a children's author, as well as the lead in the library and the media center here at Brescia House School. There is my LinkedIn page as well if you guys want to contact me, or if you have any questions. You're welcome to send us a message or a chat, and yeah, we'll follow up from there.
So, as they said, please keep your mics on mute. We will, at the end, have a question and answer session, and then we will be able to set it so that the microphones can be unmuted, and then you're welcome to ask your questions out loud. And at that point, if you want to put your camera on, that's also amazing. But in the meantime, the type of questions in the chat, Carl and I will do our best to address them as we're going, because there's nothing worse than a burning question. There is a link somewhere, and Jacobus probably knows more than me, because where you say you are here, I'm from, as we said, a Microsoft Showcase School, so we would just say there's attendance link in the Teams meeting, and that's how we know you're here. But I'm not sure, there might be a separate link, and this session is recorded, and I would guess it's going to be shared with you. And I did see that it was being recorded at the beginning. So just for something different, I do want to just make some other comment. Yes, we have QR codes to scan. We will also try and put the chats, the links in the chat, but as we go. But if you've got two devices and you can follow along, you're welcome to try it in Teams as we go. If you're on your phone and you can't, just listen and give it a bash or make some notes to try later. And we're going to start with something we're going to end with, but just to give ourselves a little breather, because as Carla and I said, we're both teachers, so we know what it's like. So I also just want to test something. I just want to check that you can see my Teams meeting, my Teams window. You should, Carl, okay, yeah. Thanks, Carl. Sorry, I've got two screens, so if I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at a different screen. So these are built into Teams, and we're going to come right at the end, come back to this, but just for the moment, because we're here and we know what it's like, we're going to, and I'm going to check that my sound works. I did say share sound on my system, so Carl, will you let me know if Sure. It doesn't work? This is the Reflect Feeling Monsters. It's 1 minute 20-ish. It's just a moment to take a few deep breaths as they guide us through, and it's about putting your problems away just for a while, so we can participate fully in this afternoon's training.
Yeah, I'm not hearing any sound at the moment.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Sorry, I am sharing the sound. Let me just check.
Yeah, it's still not, the sound is still not coming through.
Okay. Don't worry, we'll come back. I'm not quite sure I can hear it on my side why it's not working. The sound sharing is
It
on.
says system sound is on, yeah.
Yeah, so not sure. It doesn't matter. We'll just carry on, Carl. We'll circle back where to find that.
Sure.
So what we're going to do today is we are going to tell you first a bit about our school and our journey and how we use Teams and OneDrive as an ecosystem so that hopefully we can make it real and tell you why we really believe in this as an ecosystem. Then we're going to dive into Teams and talk about how you can use it across the school, working smarter with colleagues, then inside the classroom with teaching, learning, and feedback, then beyond the classroom with clubs, communities, and connections. Finally, we'll touch on OneDrive and sharing, which is the backbone of Teams. And lastly, where you can start today, tomorrow. So also, I just want to say thanks to Carl and our friends at AI for all our beautiful images, and because they created. So our school, this is an AI version of a photograph of our school. So this is our school, and Carl told you that we're in Johannesburg, and so our Microsoft Teams is the cornerstone of everything we do at our school. So does this sound familiar? Well, WhatsApp groups, mixing personal and professional messages, important notices getting buried in endless chat threads or emails, emailing the same document to 30 people and then somebody edits it, 12 different versions of the same exam paper floating around because nobody knows which is the last one, resources from last year that no one can find, and no single place where everything lives. And that was us. That was Brescia a few years ago, before Teams. And our journey was along the lines of, at the end of 2018, we no longer had servers because we were running out of space, and we moved everybody and everything to OneDrive. You had to learn how to use OneDrive, you had to learn how to share, and have shared folders and shared files. And in 2019, a few of us experimented with using Teams in our classrooms, using Teams as staff, between staff. And then at the end of 2019, we had a whole school decision that everything would be migrated to Teams, and which we did, and did lots of staff training and change management. And in 2020, we started school with class teams, staff teams, grade teams, department teams, all live, no more email attachments, no more documents floating around, or this person needed access to something. And then we all know what happened. COVID hit, and we did it in 2 days. We moved Brescia from being an in-person school to an online school in 2 days because Teams was already there and we didn't have to start from scratch. We just kept going. So where are we now? Well, it's the cornerstone of the communication. And I say this in real truth, and Carl will bear me out. There are no emails, none. It all happens in Teams. We have channels with posts and memos and notices and shared folders and shared documents. We use assignments, and everything is available to everybody 24/7. And as I can tell you, the Teams in January 2020 compared to the Teams we're in currently, there is huge changes, and the new features keep arriving, and we just keep learning and adapting and finding what works for us best. So how can we help you make it work for you? So first we're going to talk about how it works across the school. And Carl, I think I'm going to drive for you, but
Sure.
I'm going to hand over to you.
Perfect. So essentially, when it comes to using Teams and especially as a department, I found when I was department head for English, because the subject is so big, because we cover pretty much the length of the school in terms of grades, and because we have close to 5, 6, 7 assessments a term, you're dealing with a lot of documents. And not only are you dealing with a lot of documents, but you're dealing with a lot of people, especially if you come from a big department. English departments are normally quite large in terms of the amount of people that are going to be working on documents together and copies and all of that. So essentially what I found was that the easiest way for us to do it in terms of teams was to have a central team as our English department. We then had multiple channels for different integrations. So grade 7 teachers channel, grade 9 teachers channel, and those various teachers that were working within that space would be added to those channels. And from that perspective, we would have our various documents that we would work with. So we would have our schemes of work that would be associated to the various grades. And each of those documents was the final version, was a live editing document within the ShareLink components as well. So when it came to sharing our different comprehensions, when it came to revision, when it came to tasks, notes, we always had it in-house on Teams stored under the shared drive. And from that perspective, we were using one set of notes as opposed to multiple versions. And you could also download and save a copy in your own files that you could use as a teaching copy as well. So from that perspective, where it just meant that there was a lot more communication and there was less confusion when it came to working with documents. All our meetings, all our sort of minutes and that were shared in-house as well within our department. Even when it came to test setting, marking moderation, all of that was always on shared docs. So from that perspective, it just meant that that everybody knew which document we were working on in terms of the latest and final versions, and the edits could happen from there as well, from that perspective. So Lyneth, I think that's what we're mostly looking at. Are you going to share a document there for us?
So I was going to, sorry, I opened one word in the background there and it popped up onto the screen. So I was just going to go through the problems that you used to were that there were 5 versions. Nobody remembered your email.
There's communications on WhatsApp because we've got department groups on WhatsApp and we're sharing different information
there. So now
Carl
talked a lot about Teams. So if you've not been into Teams, don't worry. We're going to show you what the words he was talking about. So what is Teams? Well, I always love in the Microsoft Learn learning platform. So Microsoft Learn is the learning platform, but there's a Microsoft Teams. And in the module assessment, they have a question. And the answer is Microsoft Teams has a me and a we space. Yeah. The me being OneDrive and the we being Teams. And it's and I love that term. So it's a digital space where me can work and where we, Carl and I, or that could work. It's a digital staff room, a notice board, a filing cabinet, all at one place. It replaces email chains, WhatsApp groups, files on servers, memos printed. You can access it from any device, computer, tablet, or smartphone. And if you like Carl and I, it's on our computer and our tablet and on our smartphone. You log into the account using teams.microsoft.com, or into the main Microsoft 365 account, which you could do. And we're already in Teams right now. This is Teams in action. We're in a Teams meeting. So if you would like to follow along, and you can because you have more than one device or the ability, you can open your Teams and pop the video in the corner for a bit or on a different screen or be watching on your phone. But now we're going to talk about the key concepts of Teams. So this is Carl's kindly put a picture of his team, and we are going to do it live in a minute. But a team is one of these tiles on the side. And I just want to tell you that there are more than one way to look at them. So, and I'll explain that when I show you in my team. A channel, which you can't see here, is part of a team, which you usually do to separate information. A post is a message like you would post on social media. And a chat is a message between two peoples or small groups. And files is in a shared folder inside a team. And that automatically gives the people the right information. So this is my team. This is my school's team. So I'm going to show you around. So first of all, compared to that picture, I just checking. You can all see it.
Yes,
right?
we can.
Just so we know if everybody's gone to sleep or the 110 odd people on the call, are we still there? If you can give us an emoji or a smile or a hands up so we know you're still there. So this looks very different to what Carl had because this is in a different view. So I'm just going to show you, and the reason why you need it in this view is because certain things you do not see if you don't have it in this view. So in the top next to your login, where would be your school and your image if you've changed your Microsoft account like that. If you go to settings and no, it's missing a column. Sorry, just sometimes it's this. There should be a view. Sorry, Carl, I'm going to change. I'm just going to change Teams quick.
Yeah.
Because no. I know what the problem could be. Nope.
Settings.
I just changed mine on the other one.
Yeah.
We're looking for the column on the left. There should be a column that says appearance, and then you can go and choose. Is yours there?
Yeah, so mine's so there's general, there's appearance, and then under you've got main window, content.
I don't know why.
Time zone, but you should get the view button, which changes it from tiles to lists.
Yeah, you need to be in the grid view. Okay, I will figure out why it doesn't want to show us in the middle. Okay, while Carl's talking. So you need this view, otherwise some things you won't see. Just for those people who don't know, in the top right, you can actually zoom Teams in and out. So I hope that you can see.
And I was just going to say that the reason why there are two different views is so necessarily when you're working with lists, it's it seems to organize it a little bit better. You can keep track of teams. When they are in tiles, they move around depending on your latest movements. So if you've been working in say Brescia staff like you've got there, or if we're working in grade 11 CAT, depending on how the messages come through in the activity, those teams will move around based on your frequency of use. So yes, often that's a lot of why people choose the other view, because then it means it keeps it in an alphabetical list with latest use being at the most featured at the top, and then kind of moving around. So that's kind of what my screen looks like there. You'll see that there's my my notifications. So activity shows you the latest stuff, and then you've got the chat at the top, and then these are my various teams, which show the different channels and the different messages. If they're in bold, which you can see some of the pictures there, it means that people have sent me messages and I've yet to activate or go in and check the activity.
Okay, so when we started this, there is no one size fits all approach to this, and we're actually got a preschool now. So, but at the time we went from grade R all the way to matric, plus staff, plus finance department, plus marketing. And there's things we will tell you during the way, but you do need to find what works best for you. Okay, but Carl had an English department team, and then we have subject teams, which we'll talk about in class. But in a department team, you can have channels for exam papers, resources, admin, post notices, and announcement, shares files, where everybody gets to see the same, and their information at the same time. And obviously, if you have a staff meeting, you can use that. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to Teams. So I want to show you ours. So now, the reason why they're separate is at the top here, these teams were based on a class team, which we'll talk about class, and it has different features depending on which kind of team. These teams at the bottom are based on the template of the normal everyday staff collaboration team. So in our team, this is the staff team. As you can see, these are my messages. Now, Carl has his in dark mode. Mine is in white mode. The little red dots at the top mean that there's something that I have to look at. If people have posted and you've got activities turned on, there would be a little red dot with how many activities next to the bell at the top. But the black tells me something happened in that channel. So here is the team. It has a badge. We've run teams for this staff since in 2020. In 2022, we started a new team because we wanted to do things differently, but this team has been going since 2022. If you look down the bottom, we have hidden channels that we no longer see all the time. And then we have what we call private channels, which I will show you in the class team how to do. That means select all us grade 10 teachers belong to this team. And I'm not really going to click on it because it'll have children's names. But what it will happen is that the teachers, the grade coordinator in charge of that team, or if you're talking about a child, as in the child's going to be absent or has gone to hospital, or you need feedback, or our educational psychologists in there, they post it in the relevant team. Only the teachers that are part of this team can see it. For example, under the staff meeting teams, and I was showing a teacher today, this is where we post all our rosters. Every week is a post. So this that you're looking at is a post. It's these here in the post are called tags. Okay, they post when you write them. So I'm going to, for example, show you how to post. So this is Carl's and mine's channel. When we post, so if I post in this channel for Thursday, so this is why there's no email. Okay, so now if I type @ it tells me all the people in this team, and I can choose the staff. This is real, so I just have to watch my spelling. Carl Carl, maybe you can tell them what kind of posts we have while I type my message, because I should have pasted it.
I was also just looking at the change of the MEEE, because obviously now that it's Microsoft Elevate Educator Expert as opposed to the MI Innovative Educator Expert. So I was just looking at the shift and change there in terms of our acronyms as well. But in terms of with the different features of a post as well, so there are two different, you get your taskbar at the top there, which has got your bold, italics, underlined. There's this little megaphone on the side here. When you click the megaphone, it will then allow you to make this an announcement. If you're going to make it an announcement, it will then require a top banner as well. And you can insert the different banner at the top. And then you can also add different features to it as well. So you can make the text bigger, you can make it smaller. If you're also creating an announcement, it gives you a subject line, and that's also why we've necessarily replaced internal emails as well, because all the information that we need can be posted directly through to Teams. The @bar, in terms of the tags that Lyneth was speaking about, is where you can actually tag specific teachers into the message as well. So Lyneth could type in my name here and say that @Kyle will be available at first break to do MEE consultations. And then I know that she's tagged me in, so it appears on my activity list, which is what we showed a little bit earlier. And then I know I've got a message from Lyneth with regards to that specific post. So it sort of just flags that in and out. And then we've also got the plus button, which allows you to add different applications. You can delay the message being sent. You can schedule the message for a particular time, which is what Lyneth is setting up there. So this message will go out. Are you sending it out tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Perfect.
Also, if you are lucky enough, I have a co-pilot, you can rewrite your bad English, and you can also add some emojis at the bottom. And I can post, I do want to just tell people that if I use, I can also use post on other channels. So as you saw, we have a primary school and a high school team. So I can, which I don't think,
post to multiple channels,
I can post to multiple channels at once. So if I go to post channels, I can say multiple channels. And then I actually can teach the primary school the same channel in their team, and I can say update, which now means that if I, you can't schedule it if you do that, but if I have one post, so if I post it, it will show up in both places, and if I have to edit it, when I edited it, the edited version goes across. So it can go across the different teams or different channels. So if you have more than one channel with different people in, you can put here. The choosing of channels is very important when it comes to staff. And we've now 5 years on, 6 years on, have a program and a system. And the reason why we use numbers is because alphabetical order doesn't necessarily put it in the order that we want it. So the most important one is 2026 and then academics. Also, we have certain channels that we run. So even though this team has been going for 6 years, if you look, we've got 2023's posts and posts from 2025. And the channels in between have been removed because we don't use general. So everything for this year is in this post. So in this channel, so at the end of the year, we can archive it, we can get rid of it, we can hide it, we could delete it if we want. So our rule is everything in 2026 is for this year only. And this is where the file space is. It's an automatic shared space. So things that we put here are shared between the people that are in the team. So that's why it's got a date on it. The academic team, however, is a team that we run for 6 years. So if we went, so these are the posts, and if I went back, it would keep going back and back. You can see our academic head actually used the @ on the people in the channel, which gives you another notification. And if you go to shared, there is a repository of all the things that are related to academics in the high school in here. And we'll touch on it more of this when we do OneDrive, because it is part of OneDrive, including the coloring of tabs. So if you want to know what's happening in our school this week, you go to staff meetings and rosters, and then you will find every week there is a post with the PDF version. But as is now is a staff meeting, if I go to shared, there is no post, but I know I can find the staff meeting agenda and minutes in the shared section, which is the file section of this specific channel. General is a channel which automatically gets created. Originally, if you couldn't do anything with it, then you could block it that only owners of the team could post in it, and now you can even rename it, which I'll show you in my children's channel teams. But we get rid of it because we don't want everybody to write in general. Microsoft's version is that you should have a team for a job. And that's where school is very different, because some jobs and some things last the whole time you work at the school, and other things are a term or a year. So, Carl, maybe you can just talk about staff meetings.
Sure.
I'm going to
Lynette, while you're doing that, can you go back to your settings? I found out where the appearance, where it's moved to.
Yeah, it was that it's more that you can't see the tab in my Teams. I've did on my laptop today. When I go to settings, now it comes.
So yeah, there it is.
Missing. You go
it's underneath chats and channels.
Chats and channels, and then it must be, in my view, is grid. Carl's view, and I'm going to change mine and hope I can get back here.
You will be able to.
There it's changed into Carl's view, which you open and can see the channels underneath, and you can see how many teams we have that just I have. So if you want to go back, if you click on the 3 dots and you go back to settings, this is the part that was missing earlier, Carl.
Yes. No, and mine popped up as I moved out, and then I think it was when we got the update this morning, and when I closed Teams and reopened it, it changed the.
Yeah. There was a Teams update today. This is also where you can change that your chats are in here and your teams are in here, and you can switch off mutes and how compact and whether the last. So I can't do it. Some people prefer the newest message to be on the top. I'm so used to scrolling all the way to the bottom, but you can actually switch it so that the newest message is on the top.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl. I just need to close the slideshow for a second, so I'm going to just stop sharing.
Sure.
Because you just talk about staff meeting teams.
I've got mine open, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so essentially, the one thing that I mean, obviously during COVID, this was obviously the most in effect in terms of bringing colleagues together without needing to be in the same room. And we often have different meetings at school, or necessarily if staff members are away and are unable to attend the meeting physically, they are able to dial in. And that was definitely when we would schedule meetings, and especially within the hybrid stage, as well as we've had staff members that are away on camp, and there's an important grade coordinators meeting, and obviously they have their laptops with them, and if they've got Wi-Fi, then they can dial into the meeting as well, and be present while the kids are out on activities and that for when we've got coordinator meetings. But essentially, You're in this Teams meeting right now, which is really great. But the different functionality of Teams is in terms of being able to bring people into meetings. Obviously, you've seen that here with us as well. Sorry, I just moved off my slide there. Meetings can also bring people from outside your school, expert speakers. Now, that is something that's really exciting. Lyneth and I have done a couple of different meets. And one of the innovative educator requirements about 2 years ago was that we met up with another school, another Microsoft school, and we had the different class. They were on their side of the world, and we were on our side of the world. And our girls were able to ask questions and engage with the other class when we did this Microsoft Innovative Educator Exchange program, which was done via Teams. And we set up a scheduled time. We've also got our school is part of the Utilising network of schools. And we have done many global exchange meets where we've engaged with multiple Ursuline schools across the world, and focused and held different sessions and breakout rooms in which we then facilitated, and we learned from our peers, our colleagues and peers from the other Ursuline schools as well. That was one of the bigger ones that we did. That was also championed by Lyneth and the history department. And that was really great in terms of being able to collaborate and do training across the Ursuline network using Teams. It really does just beam us straight in. Lyneth, are we all back on board there?
We're all back on board. I just wanted to add, sometimes we even have, I want to say, a Teams meeting where people are just in different parts of the school, so they can participate in different parts of the school. And not that we're really going to talk about it, but we've used them for things like AGMs, where we've run it for parents too. It really is an amazing thing. And I just want to go over something, and I wasn't sure if it was going to pop up in front. So in Teams, now we are talking about the calendar section of Teams. So I don't know if you know this, but Teams now has a fully integrated Outlook calendar, including the colors. So I can color the things that are in my Outlook calendar diary shows up here. We run a school timetabling program that actually has a shared calendar. So this is actually two calendars you're looking at simultaneously, where they're showing my lessons in green versus what I've got in my own calendar. And this is where we're talking about the Meet Now. If I go to Meet Now, which because we're in a call won't work, I can literally say Meet Now, and I can almost phone a friend. I can give Carl the ID to join me, or I can literally, because he's in my school system, I can literally ring him. And if we go back to the concept of using your phone and having Teams on your phone, it means I can phone Carl without...
You can call out directly.
Yeah, using the internet. So I just wanted to show you, this has changed quite a lot. It has the weather integrated. So it's mostly sunny tomorrow in Joburg. I hope the weather in Cape Town is just as good for you. And we can change the views, and we can change what is shown on your calendar. So, and that's come a long way since Teams first started.
Yeah. I think for us, it's super useful, especially when we're dealing with both Lyneth and I work a lot with the accounts department. So we're up and down in terms of loading requisitions and loading new vendors and suppliers and that. And I think the convenience of it is that, yes, I can send an email or I can drop a Teams message, but I can also just pick up a call and I can say, hey, Mal, I just need to find out a bit of information about this supplier quickly. And it's super fast. It just makes the convenience of being on the whole Teams ecosystem in terms of it being in the same place, or everything in the same place all at once. It definitely gives us that convenience as well. Yeah.
Sorry, Carl, just so people understand, first of all, we don't have telephones in our school. In fact, our whole
And
system
intercoms.
is,
Yeah.
we don't have intercoms either. Our whole system is voice over IP, but it actually goes into Teams. So even if the person phones the normal phone number for our school, it is actually in essence in the background answered by Teams and then put through to the person's Teams app, which could be on their phone, on their computer, or we have what's called a Teams phone, which just runs that part of Teams. So let's talk about the classroom, which is why we all are teachers. And why did we choose to go to Teams before we had to? And part of that was these were the problems. We had to print 30 copies of a worksheet, but 3 of the girls, we have girls only, so I end up saying girls a lot. 3 of the learners are absent. You emailed the resources and half of them say, and if I could see you now, I'm sure some of you are nodding in the background. No, I never got that. No, you never gave it to me. No, they weren't here. Oh no, but you never told me what was in the test, Mrs. Crichton. They don't know what they missed. They can't get it because no, they couldn't access that information, or they only remembered at 5 p.m. if you're my son on Sunday afternoon that you have homework. You've got so much homework, or like me, you've got tests sitting on the desk. You think people are having a problem and the students, but you're not quite sure. And so those were things that we wanted to address, which is when we played in Teams, we thought Teams could address. So in Teams, there is a special section called class teams. When you create a team, you have to choose this kind of team, a class team. Yeah. And it's really in there, the people that belong to the team have, unlike a normal team where they're owners and members, you are a teacher and students, and depending on who you are is what you can see and what you can do. It's a space for you and your learners, and not all teams are equal. So depending on your subject and what you're trying to achieve, you as a class teacher might set your team up slightly differently, and I'm going to show you some information now. Also, they can use a code or a link to join. They don't have to necessarily, you have to email them. You get things like classwork, assignments, grades, and reflect in a team, which you do not get in a normal PLC team or other team. Teams works on any device. So we are one-to-one from grade 4. However, most of our girls have it on their smartphones or tablets. In addition, and my husband also being a teacher, his school, most of them access it from smartphones, and they can do it at home whenever they need to. So I'm going to show you 2 things. Let me just switch teams. First,
which one are you showing?
Yeah. Okay. So this is, as I said earlier, a class team. So I've got a number of different teams, and you'll see they're quite different in the way that they're set up. Some were not set up by me. So I teach all the grade 7's digital skills. So this team is a team that has a whole grade's worth of children. Okay. I share the teaching with another teacher. So I have only 2 channels, the one being general, which I renamed announcements because they cannot write in it. And I have a private channel called Teachers Only that only the other teacher and myself can see. At this point, we use it mostly for sharing files that we need to share to make it easier that when we're in class, we can use it. This is the part on the top here, homepage, class notebook, classwork, that you do not get some of these if you have not created a class team. So that's why it's important that the kind of team, and you can't change kinds of teams. This team, Carl, is the team that Carl created. And Carl, can you just explain your...
Sure. I've actually got this one open on my side as well. So we run a different, so because I work in the media center space, my prime focus is literacy enrichment and innovation. And we run a project with our grade 9s and our grade 5s in which they become published authors. We use Canva as the facilitation tool in which they write their stories and illustrate them. But in order for us to run this project, we have all the grade 9s and all the grade 5s on a shared team. Now, something that's quite interesting is without this shared team, our junior school and our high school cannot communicate with one another in terms of across teams without an educator being present. So the only way we can facilitate this group work is by putting all of the girls into a team. And so we then have multiple channels, which becomes the facilitation of their individual groups. And in this particular one, you can see their project updates, links, and notices. This is the messages that I post to them. You can also see that I used a live loop as well, which is a really interesting component that we will go through as well, where what you do is you add in the message, you create a loop, and it's live for kids to add things to. So I've got their different names, their different groups, their different stories, their different files. All of that is attached to the group as well. But then what we did is we went one step further, and each of the teams, or each of the different groups we had, which consisted of 3 grade 9s and 2 grade 5s, had a separate channel in which they could share the information that they needed with each other in that channel. And each of us that were as staff members were part of those different channels. I was on every one. Lyneth was on quite a few of them as well. And ultimately what it meant was that our girls were able to share across the school, used to share links in terms of their Canva editing links, and also their ideas, as well as the projects and the different tasks that they had worked on. But it also meant that they didn't have to share it with all their peers. So we just had them as private channels, and they were locked.
Also, there's 2 reasons, because our intermediate phase cannot use the chat icon. They don't have access. They can chat with teachers, but not peers, which I think you said. But Carl, I can't remember the number, but one of the 2 reasons why these are not private channels is, would you believe we ran out of private channels? You can only have, just note to everybody, you can only have so many private channels, and we wanted more than it was. Was it 50?
I think it was up to 50. I remember 25 being a number as well. But as far as I remember, we were capped, and you can have unlimited open channels, but you can only have, I think it's up to 50 private channels.
Yeah. So just so you know how it works, and just while we're here, I'm just going to show you, because Carl, it would be fine. So if we're talking about private channels, if I say I'm going to add these 3 dots and I'm going to add a channel, I can add teachers only channel, and then what, none of us put the description in, just so you know, is that a standard channel, everybody has access, but a private channel is like a team is going to say create. And now I can go and, so at this point, when it's created the channel, only I would have access to it. But I can literally go and find Carl, and if I add him to this channel, and I can make him an owner of the channel like me, which is the equivalent to a teacher, and then I can say add, and he would be in that channel with me. which means nobody else in the team would even know that this channel exists, and it has a locked one there. I'm glad it let me create one, Carl.
Yeah, it did.
So
I think they may have upped how many channels we can have now, though, as well.
So that means Carl and I can post.
Yeah, so my activity button, my notification just went red as well. So it informs me that Lyneth has added me to this new channel. So Lyneth has made you an owner of the channel of Wonderful World of Trees 2026 Teachers Only. And then immediately I'm pulled into the channel when I click on it, and I can see Lyneth has said, hello, Kyle. And what's also really cool is the sharing of folders and files. This is something that I particularly used to do quite a lot in terms of the English department as well. So we would then upload our master copies of marking guidelines, our rubrics, and we would share them in the teachers only folder. And that would mean that everybody's working from the same task sheet, same marking guidelines, same rubrics, depending on the tasks. We would also put the scheme of work into these concepts. So teachers only teams are a really neat tool that we can use in order to communicate and stay on the same page, but also that if all the notes are loaded into the various folders correctly, and if it's done in a really nice organized fashion, so you can number them. Generally, if you number them numerically, they'll appear in those numerical order. You can then keep all of your folders as well as all of your notes and documents, as well as copies of your cycle tests and assessments, all within the same shared network, so that you're all using the same rubrics, the same marking guidelines. It just makes it a lot more streamlined and convenient.
So I just want to, so this is a great team. I just want to show you. So I have, I teach CAT. So in grade 10, I create a team. And if I go to my grade 12, they migrate with them. And there I have an individual channel for each child. So that the child can talk to me, and I can give the child her marks and her exams, and I can share files with her in this folder. So she can see if I give her back her test, or she's giving me something, only her and I share that space. Whereas if I go to shared, which is what I've renamed classes, announcements, this is a folder that the Matrix and I worked on in digital citizenship. So this everybody has access to, but the class materials folder is automatically a student will only have read access, and a teacher in the system would have write access. And there I've even color coded them, and I hand out information. So that means if they open this, they can see these, they can download them, but they cannot edit them. So if we go to my managed team, you can see these are the members of my team. I am the only teacher, which is known as an owner, and the girls are the only people that are, and they are members of this team. And how did I get them to go join the team? Well, I have a few girls, so it would be simple for me to simply add them. But especially when we're talking about grade teams, we go to settings, we go to team code, and there is a code, which even if I put full screen, that's how I do it. I put this up and say that is the code. And by the end of the lesson or the end of the 5 minutes, you have to have joined joined the team, and I can keep track of them by looking at the members of the team. So sorry, Carl, when it kept jumping earlier, it's because I went to change the slide, and
not a problem.
It jumps when you touch the slides.
What I've just done is I've just posted in the chat just a quick key. So Teams key concepts. So what the team is, what the channel is, what posts are, what a chat is, and then necessarily what the files are as well. And that is just there so you guys have an understanding of those various terms in terms of how we use them. So that's just a quick set of keynotes there for you guys.
So, sorry, Carl, I just want to check with the people. It's an hour in that they're still there and they're still with us. I saw somebody.
I see. If we have any questions, you're welcome to post in the chat. If there's anything you want to reflect on that we've just spoken about, particularly I see Fazia said we have up to 50 learners per class per grade. Yep, we have about the same as well. Obviously, we are a bit smaller in terms of our grades, but we've got three to four grades per class. Class per grade. And yeah, we facilitate right across. So in terms of our teams, all of our girls are in specific subject teams. Their dashboard probably looks a little bit more, well, it doesn't look as chaotic as probably Lyneth and mine do, because we're often added to a lot of different class channels and teams so that we can communicate across the school as well. But they would, on their side, in terms of what they would see on their device, would be the different teams that they're a part of based on the subjects. And then they would also be based on the channels, as well as which teachers you would see that coming up as well. So Teams is really, you're able to facilitate as many children as you need within your class team as well. We've got one more question here. Does each learner require their own Microsoft license to be onboarded? Lyneth, that one's for you.
So let me just explain before we go into assignments. That it is the way it works with educational licensing is that when you buy, so we have A5 licenses, but even and I do believe that A1 is not going to exist anymore, but I don't know if there's a Western Cape, but as far as I understand, the Western Cape have signed an agreement with Microsoft, so you have a licensed agreement, but the licenses are the teachers, and therefore the children will automatically get licenses. So yes, they need a license, but they have one by virtue of the fact that the teacher is licensed. So in our school, we pay for 100 licenses because we're an independent school, but that means 800 children in our school have access to Teams and Microsoft 365. So it does mean they have to be added to the tenant if they're going to have a license, a Microsoft email address. There are certain things that guests cannot do. So if you saw, I was busy sharing that when I said share the link, it said there that a guest cannot join a team with that code. In other words, they have to have a specific invitation. But we have run teams where, for example, our board, those are external adults, everybody uses their own email address and they can still belong to a team. There are just certain things in the class team that then don't work. So I would recommend that the kids would rather get their email that belongs to your tenant, which makes them have fully fledged functionality. Does this Teams functionality combine with Dojo? So I'm assuming Dojo is the one you're talking about where you do behavior and you give awards and all that. A lot of, and I'm not quite sure because Dojo, yes. Okay, so I'm not quite sure if Dojo has the ability. So, and I'm going to talk about Canva when we talk about cross-country. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Yakuba. So every Western Department of Educated Teacher is A5. So you're the same as us. So they receive.
Yeah.
No, so they receive A1 licenses. A5
Yes.
is just the fact that that is a antivirus in. So A1 is the entry basic, and then it goes A3, which is actually the ability to download Office on your computer. So it has nothing to do with Teams, because Teams can go on your computer. It's to do with Word and Excel and Access. And the A5 is the one that, like, if you have devices, it includes antivirus and all that. So A1 is perfectly fine. A5 is not a mass license, it's just the highest level. So the enterprise licensing work the same, 1, 3, and 5. It's just the highest level, which has the most bundled features, which includes all the extra security features. Whereas
Was there anything you
A1,
wanted to add, Ukubus?
A1, so
Yes.
sorry, it was, yes, so A1 is perfectly fine in Teams. It just means that you couldn't install Word on your computer, is what A1 basically license says. You must use Word online and Excel online, but Teams app is about Teams, and that's all in it. It is about the fact that in order to be able to create a class team, which I'm going to show you now, you have to be in your tenant. You have to be made, and that your tenant knows you are a teacher, not a student. Students won't be able to create class teams. So when you say create a team, which is in the top right-hand corner, or join a team, if I say join a team, that would be where that I showed you that child could put the code in, and then they would join my CAT team. Create a new class team. The importance is that you use class to get all the additional functionality. The PLC, the professional learning community, or the staff, or the other, are actually all the same. They have the add-on pieces are not there, like insights and reflect and assignments, and that are not in those ones.
Yeah.
When we started, which is why you'll see some of the staff teams being the whole school staff team. Can you see it's a class? Because it was easier to make sure that everybody knew what they were doing. So by experiencing what it's like to be a student in a team. So if you look, Brescia staff has classwork, assignments, and grades, and reflect, whereas that part at the top under HS staff is missing, because this is not a class team. It's just a normal team, which is what business would have at the bottom. So you would
Mrs.
add,
Crichton,
yes, create a team.
Ukubus wants to just chime in there. He's put a
Chime in.
message in the chat there.
Just to explain quickly the situation that we currently have, all our teachers receive an A1 license on the wcgschools.gov.za tenant, which is an educational tenant. So the teachers are by default set to educators. However, there are no learner licenses that are currently attached to those to that tenant. There are plans in the pipeline, but they are, I can't say how far they are away from where we do have learner licenses attached to it. But in its current guise, what teachers can already start exploring, they might not be able to explore the full offering as yet. However, in terms of a communication platform amongst themselves, as you indicated earlier with some of the teams, they would be able to get the full functionality of that. So creating a team for your teachers where you do internal communication and files and all of that is already in play. Whereas adding learners to the space is currently, there are some schools that are Microsoft schools that have already gone down this route and that are able to do this. However, as things stand, there are not learner licenses attached to it yet. So this might be a bit challenging, but it is worth investigating. However, that internal communication aspect is a very, very powerful one. And from my experience, it is often one of the best places to start is if you can start getting your admin more digitized, and if you can start moving into that space, then the jump when you get your learners on board is much, much simpler if you're already used to doing the administrative part on a platform like this.
Yeah,
just to clarify exactly how our licensing currently works.
Okay, so thank you. So I have to tell you that my husband works in a government school, so I'm not quite, if I talk about a feature that is not in that a guest cannot use, I'm not 100% sure about which can and can't. I think some of them I do sort of have an idea, but it's where Brescia started, this is where Brescia started. We had one team for the whole school. So this is from grade R to matric, including finance, including all admin staff, support staff, every single person. It was a class team, because the way to figure it out is to figure it out, to work. Look, right back to 2022, you see our team goes back. This is how we learned to post. This is how we learned to practice by one assignment. Also, your understanding of it, if you've been as a pupil in a team, a learner in a team, as a student in a Microsoft team, you understand when the students eventually get there. But that also means you can try some of it, because you can have them as guests in your team. So the part to be important is to create a class team when you create one. And my thing is rather create a class team, because you, as I said before, you cannot change it, and never use some of the functionality, than think, oh, I wish I could try an assignment. So when you create it, you choose class team. It wants to create one channel. You say, use this team. You give it a name. You can customize or rename your channels as you go, and then you create it. That's how easy it is to create a class team. It just takes a while. I have a team, literally, and this is also what teachers can do if they've got teachers, is I create a team, my team for me. When I did this right at the beginning, I never did anything live until I tried it in my own team, and my daughter was at the school, so I used to make her as the person, as a student, and I make my husband as a guest, so that I could learn and figure out what I could or couldn't do. So it's important to have a team. You cannot change it once you've created it. You can't change it to any other kind of team. So it's important. The other things that we've learned is that there's a reason why we use a number first. So if you're a child in our school in grade 12, you would have a team for each one of their subjects. So they don't care about grade. They know they're in grade, and therefore they're worried about the subject. If you're a person like me who's got history and geography and digital skills, so when I say the rule, the loose rule, because you can see from the teachers, is that we start with the grade, and we all know it's grade, so really just the number, then whatever subject, and then the year, so that if a person still has the coding and robotics team from 2025 in there, they would know that they could hide the team, that's not the that they need. So let me just find my slide again, and I've learned if I just hit there. So I just want to show you how assignments work quickly. So this is one of the powerful things about Teams, is you can create an assignment in Teams. You can set a due date. They get reminded automatically. They submit their work digitally, no printing, no lost papers. You can mark it in Teams, add a feedback, and you can return it, and they get the information back, and it all goes directly into the team. So, for example, in our digital skills team, there is the hour of code assignment. If I go to view, this assignment is not closed yet. Our girls did the hour of code, and they have to submit they have to submit their certificate. So without even here's all my grade 7s. I can even see who looked at the instructions but have not handed it in, who handed it in, and if I went to hand in, I'll actually see when they handed it in. So they had to hand in their certificate. As you can see, I clicked it. I could type feedback. I can download it if I want to keep. I can, this assignment had no points, but I can return, or I can say, try again, or I can even mark as excused and return that they didn't have to. So I think if we go into no. Oh, wrong one. Maybe it's in this team. So you can keep track easily of the teams of their work. And Carl, maybe you can just talk about marking your English online while I find the example that I seem to have lost.
So what in terms of on that slide there, you can see that we submitted an assignment for our drama girls actually, and it was the elements of drama that they had to create a scene, and they had to look at specifically the setting, characters, conflicts, and symbolism. These requirements were then placed into a rubric as well. Now, in your assignments, the one really cool thing about Teams is that you can upload a rubric as a PDF. You can also generate a rubric as a CVS file. And ultimately what you would then do is you would put in the requirements. So when designing the rubric, you would put in your baseline in terms of what it's going to be out of, what are your main categories, and then you could put in your different marking requirements, and it will then populate that document. And each child, once you mark the assignment marking online, will receive a rubric that you've then indicated the points, as they say there, no points. They would indicate the mark requirements and the marks that they would get. Something that we found particularly what we used in the English department was this worked really nicely, especially for our grade 12s, for their draft essay writing process. So I often found it was much quicker to mark online rather than the physical scripts, especially when they were doing drafting of their creative writing. And we would be able to give them live feedback in terms of their drafts. You can write on the script as well. So when you use if you're marking, you can type in, you can actually mark, physically draw. If you have the draw enabled on your Microsoft Teams function, especially if you've got a touchscreen or you've got a stylus, you can actually write in and then you can send it back to them, and they can see the direct feedback. And what we tend to find is what's really nice is if we've put that supplementary or that draft mark in, I could then keep track of their draft mark as well as their final mark and look at what they've improved or how they've improved as well. And then you could return all, which is great. So once you've marked the whole class, you then click the return all function, and it sends it out to them, and they'll get a notification that says that this assignment has been marked, and they get to see their mark directly. Ms. Crichton, I can't remember if the video feedback, the microphone is still enabled. Are you able to do a voice feedback for the girls?
Yes, as far as I know, the flip, which was part of that. That's it.
I can't remember if it was. We're
going to create one now. But so this is assignments. So this is last year's skill. So these were ready to grade. So I literally could click them as before. She turned it in again, so that's where she had the option to turn it in. There was a mark, and here are returned ones. And the
best thing is that if you feel that the assignment is not up to scratch, you do have the option of sending it back with feedback. and then giving them the option to turn it in again. And that was something, especially with our junior grades, when girls would hand in, we've often had blank pages sent in so that they sent the assignment in and that sort of thing. So it's a really good way to keep track. Because if you send it back to them and then they've got to turn it again, they've got to complete whatever commentary you've seen as well. So it's a really good way to keep a handle on what's going on.
So we're going to create one, but I just wanted to say, so, and where did we start? Is that we created an assignment for the teachers. So for those of you who hate collecting things from teachers, now they can't say they never handed, they didn't know they had to hand it in. So I can add assignment. So if I go to new assignment, what also happens is a new quiz will link it to a Microsoft form, and learning accelerators, if I remember correctly, we circle back to reading progress in one of these sessions, but these are, we can use these progress. So reading is reading progress, search is searching the internet, maths is all about maths, and speaker is you can actually get them to practice their presentations. But right now we're going to choose a new assignment. Everywhere it's going to tell you to set AI guidelines, but I actually can type in here and I can get attach the desktop image created in Canva. Okay. And I can just get AI to add more details, but my grade 7s, I'm not going to post this, really did do this. And I would put which team I'm in. Do I want all students? So the tip here is use all current and future students, because when next week some new child arrives, you want them to have the assignments. Okay, I'll come back to modules. I can give it no points or 20, and they did use AI allowed, and I can manage them. And then I can turn reflect on and off, which we're going to circle back to. And I would create it. And at the bottom here, it says student view. So if I click at it, I would see what the students can see that they have to do. I can save it as a draft or assign it. And also we can tell it to post it immediately or allow late hand-ins. Okay, so I can say they're allowed to add it in late, and where am I going to post it? And if I add it to the calendar, the students and me, or just me, it will actually put reminders in the calendar, or they'll pop up when they need. So I'm just going to save it as a draft. So when I talked earlier about the right tool for the job, so my grade 7s created desktop images on Canva. I didn't use an assignment because I want them to be able to choose and use each other's desktops that they submitted. So I used a folder and let them upload it with their name so that they can each download each other's ones and use it as their desktop of the computers. So, but this comes with the challenge is that they can then see what each other people did, and they could potentially delete each other's work. None of that happens with assignments. It's only between you and the student in your class, or between you and the staff member when you're trying to get them to add in or submit their vote or fill in their staff return form, you know, that form, and then they never remember. Well, it can automate that, and you can ultimately download them all together. So, and then if we, go back to the team, back to this 2025 team. skills. Well, I lost it now.
I think also for us, what's really cool is the fact that if you're uploading notes or uploading an attachment with the assignment, so like you've got the PDF of the task and everything, your students will get their own copy of that as well, and they'll be able to work with it. So even if you've uploaded the assignment, you're sitting in class and you're going to go through the assignment with them, each of them would be able to have a copy and see it. They don't necessarily have to have the physical copy because they've got it digitally. And they're able to then use that as sort of their like sort of starting point in terms of the springboard. So they can write on it, they can work with it, they can submit it, and they can attach files to it. And if there's like group activities as well, that's why Lynette was saying that she allowed them to add things to a folder, which is also a nice way for them to work on a collaborative space. So they can set the link into their channel, working on a shared PowerPoint or a shared Canva link, and then they can all click onto that as well as, and then work in it in a collaborative group dynamic manner. We often have digital days where our girls are actually at home and they're working on a project all within the comfort of their own home, necessarily using the assignment tool in the digital space as well as with the link as well. So it's definitely opens up the space for them to be more collaborative, as well as giving each learner one-to-one documents as well.
So, and then if you've done it, so we normally remove all our children from the team when they're finished so that it doesn't clutter the teams. So this only has a couple, but there you can see my class average, and these children probably had never left the school. So they otherwise all their marks would be here, which you can export to Excel. And the other part that is nice in here is that if I go to Insights, it will tell me how, like who, if all the kids were in the team, so it will tell me who has done what, how many times they've looked at things, how many times they've used Reflect, which are coming, which pages they've looked at. So the more you use the team, so, and I say this because this also helps when, if you practice with your staff, you suddenly know a whole lot of things about your staff and who looks at what. So you can see I've already got an activity, which if I click on it will tell me what's happening in which team, which one I have to go. And here it is. So we have a team. So if I click on it, there's just the post. So before we circle back beyond the classroom, because it starts it, Carl, is I just want to show you. So we run a team that has every child in the high school. This is it. All the information. Remember I said no emails. We actually have just about no pin boards too. This is the digital pin board. This is where the information is about open mic auditions. They have the same version of a weekly what's got to happen posted on a Friday for the next week, what they have to do. They have a channel for academic well-being and the information that is supplied by the teacher in charge of it. And then I only belong to the grade 12 channel, but each grade has their own locked channel, which so they had a careers evening. So the head of academics posted the program into there. So we didn't print it. Here it is. Here you have it. You have access to it. There is a message that today is Friday. And by the way, there's uniform inspection next week. So same team channel, can you see? So we can practice. If we wanted to collect return forms, we could actually put it in as assignment. The only thing I have to tell you is assignments cannot be assigned to a channel. So I can't just give an assignment to all my grade 12s if I have a grade, this team, which goes from, because our grade 7s are in the high school, grade 7 to grade 12. If I assign assignment here, it will go to all 430 odd kids. So that is still something we keep, people say is the wish list of assignments. But yes, you can go. And there's one last thing I wanted to show in the was this classwork. So anybody who's ever played with a Moodle or any kind of thing like that, this classwork allows you also to have drafts, but to post their classwork as a page. So this was the instructions, there was the document. So this was not necessarily, it had assignment attached, 6 ready to grade with the marks. It had the workbook they needed, and it had links. So we played capture the flag, there's the information. So if I add a new model, and all the latest thing is that it allows AI to help you, you can save it as draft and then post it when necessary. So this one has a YouTube link, a PowerPoint, and then the assessment where they hand it in. But the instructions are here and it's published.
Yeah. What I particularly liked about this one was this capture the flag that they played. What Lyneth did, which was great, was she added the different teachers to the team as well. And so when we came in to do like our duty in terms of we were with them for that 45-minute or that hour while they were doing their digital stuff, we had all the information and we could track what they needed to do. So although Lyneth was facilitating in terms of running the process, as teachers, we were able to kind of move around and see what children were doing and see what they were working on, but also keeping track of what they needed to be working on. So we were able to facilitate the process, having been given the information and been included as part of the team. So just from that sort of collegial concept, it was really, it just was super helpful that I knew, okay, cool, my name's on a list, I'm going into this venue, but I don't actually know what I'm doing. Well, actually, I do know what I'm doing because there's the team, there's all the information, there's all the communication that's required of us, and we were able to then assist the girls as well.
So one last thing about class teams. So yes, homepage, and I used to create homepages, but the sad thing about a homepage is that it disappears with your team. But if you want to, it's a version of a web page, so they can look at the team from this web page. It will automatically put dates and assignments into there. And information about them, and you can then publish it so they can't see it yet and share it, and then they can use their team more like a website, which is also another amazing tool of Teams. So I just want to, so we went over insights and assignments, and now I want to tell you about Reflect. Reflect was the little video that I couldn't get to play earlier with the sound. So in your Teams, there is Reflect in the toolbar here, and then it's built in with all these well-being, social, emotional learning activities. And I've played these with my girls to meditate. Today we did the pebble when they were all over the place. It's even got some fun games built in. Also, if you go to the bottom, there's some music, especially the younger grades, and even mindful crafts. Wonderful and amazing and nice to add, but you can also do it in your team. And my grade 10s and grade 12s, my grade 12s wrote a test today. So I posted, how did you feel about today's theory test at 11 o'clock this morning? And this is what they had to do. So you can do it before a test. You can do it after a test, and I'll show you. So there, my girls, they were scared, and that's what they felt before the test. If we go to my grade,
and I like the little tab there that says show the reasons for their emotions as well.
Yeah. So if we go to my grade 10s and we go to Reflect, they wrote an Excel test the last time I saw that. So here is them. So the color is blue, is they feeling fine, and if you hover, it tells you who it is. and optimistic. And it really as simple as if I choose to add a new check-in, I can choose a custom question, and I can choose so that these words, I actually chose assessment and grading, but I can use homework, and I can add options and remove them. That stops them having to type, and I can preview it, and it just gives you a overall reflect. So if you look, you can see the color bar of that I literally have all ranges of emotions. My grade 11s also wrote a test, and besides asking me when I'm going to have marked it, because they write test tomorrow, they write Excel tomorrow, this is what they feel about tomorrow. So there are 2 that are worried, 2 that are optimistic and motivated, and they've actually used, but it was a bank of them. So it's really fun and wonderful to do with teachers too. And the whole reason why Nessa hover them over, so if I showed this to my class, they would know what feeling monster they are, what color they picked. But they can see, if they were one of the red people, that there's actually also somebody else who's nervous and doesn't know. I can also just hide the names. So it just says what, I'm too nervous, I'm too nervous. So you can show the students in your class what everybody's feeling without, they don't have to be the person to put up the name. And then the last one is how did we use Teams meetings? Well, last year, and Carl was talking about reading, but last year when I was booked off hospital, Carl being in the closest to me, I actually taught from home every day for 3 weeks, I think it was, Carl. And Carl came in my classroom, switched on my interactive panel and logged me in, and I joined from home and my computer, and I actually taught so that they didn't have no lessons for 3 weeks. I also invigilated by turning the camera around because they had to write a test, shared my document, which Carl will do just now, and he printed them, and then I actually watched the children write their test by invigilating my own test. So it's great for a teacher from another school. It's great for experts from camera. And there is Carl reading. Which school were you reading to there, Carl? There was
so we did a Stain City Connect. It was the one with Kerry where they wanted to do it was that Microsoft connection. And I had my grade R's in front of me reading the book that I had written. And I had the Stain City's grade R's and grade 1s on the other side. And we did like a little mini exchange. You can see there's the flip side camera of me being beamed into their classroom.
Sorry, I changed the slide on you. Sorry. Okay, so Carl, I've lost my chat. Can we just check that we're not talking to ourselves? Because you and I could talk all day.
No,
there are people on the other side.
In the chat. Are there any questions specifically about what we've discussed so far that anybody's a little bit confused about or would like us to touch base on again? I did see that there was a question about how do I change my settings to teacher? I can only join a team.
So everybody should be able to create a team, but you can only create a class team if you're logged into an education tenant and you're made as an educator. So if you don't have that status, you wouldn't be able to click class team. But even, and if you've got a device, you might have personal teams. Personal teams will allow you to create a team too, but you won't get the functionality of class. Carl, I'm just conscious of time and a whole lot more slides. So if you just want to chat through beyond the classroom and what we mean, not only by experts, but by you can tell them a little bit about your resource ranges and your team.
So because of the fact that I work in the media center as well, so in terms of classrooms, groups, clubs, I also facilitate the English Olympiad right across the school as well. And that's for our grade 9 learners all the way through to grade 12. And sometimes it's really difficult because when it comes to things like Olympiad, where they do the self-study component as well, as we've got the tutorials that we'll have. Any tutorial that I teach, I'll post the information on the actual class channel. And they then have access to it as well. So if they can't attend the session live, they're allowed to go back and have a look at the notes, anything that I've posted for the girls with regards to that week's tutorial. They're able to kind of chime in from home as well. The resource ranges is something a little different. So we didn't have library monitors here at Brescia House for a long time. And because ours is a resource center and we wanted this to be a little bit more voice, agency, and stewardship, we decided to create what I call the resource ranges. And ultimately, they are in charge of not only sort of helping keep the library organized, but very much in terms of bringing students into the library and into our resource space. And so one of the first projects with our resource rangers was they wanted to change the way we organized our library. And so that came from them within the group. And we are able to facilitate a lot of those changes through Teams as well, in terms of organizing and chatting and setting up meetings and setting up sort of deadlines. But we moved from alphabetizing, from being in alphabetical sections and using Dewey Decimal to genre-based. So we split all our books over, and it took us about 1.5 years. And we changed our library system into genres, which meant the girls had to sit and recode and recolor everything that was attached to the books as well. So very quickly, it just meant it was quite a streamlined process that we were able to communicate that way. Co-curricular activities as well. We have registers that the girls have to sign up on. From that perspective, it goes right out of the classroom and into the holistic development and school life. We've got cross-curricular groups as well. Lyneth and I belong to various other teams from other schools in terms of EdTech and innovation. We're on theirs as guests, they're on ours as guests. So there really is this opportunity to kind of stay within the ecosystem and kind of work from a collegial perspective as well as collaborative perspective.
So and one of the big reasons is they have access 24 hours a day. They can find everything in one place. And as you would have seen earlier, it seems like a strange thing, but our photography club has its own team. Actually, it's run by one of the girls in my class. So there is, Jenna's in my class. So they have their own team where it's a child driving it, that there's no club members. You have to, they share their photos in the shared folders and they create them. So if we were admin staff, the finance department have their own team that they work on together, where they share files, they share work. So some, yes, are private channels in a team, but others are actually information. They have their own team that drive together. So there can be all sorts of teams. So for example, yes, this is the a project where they participating in this art competition. So the teacher created a team for those people who signed up. That's who's in this team. And she posts messages to them, and you can see that they get it because it was black. Mine was black. Now I read the message that artwork is due this week. So teams don't just have to be about academics. They can be literally about anything, admin or interest groups, because at the end of the day, you are giving them the opportunity to have access to everything. And the more you do, it becomes part of your ecosystem. So we can also bring the classroom in. This is the person from Carl's who actually, he presented from Australia. That's him in the middle. And what we did was, at the time, we did project days, and the girls actually could stay at home. Yes, we're lucky enough they have a device and they have internet. There were girls that, as you can see, there were two, they joined up at class because we weren't do the writing the books. But basically, the gentleman, Gavin McCormack from Australia, addressed all of them and inspired them to write their stories. And they all connected to the team from their own places. I have to tell you that somewhere in their car and somewhere in the coffee shop, right? Remember, Carl?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they didn't want to put their cameras on because they were in their mom's car. They were going on holiday early, and you're not supposed to do that. So that's what they were. So, Carl, just before we jump into OneDrive, this project, which is not it dovetails with English, but it was a project, digital project, would not have been possible without Teams
At all. That whole the whole concept of working across two phases of the school as well as the fact that with Gavin McCormack, in terms of their online platform that we were working with as well, our girls needed all the links, they needed all the communication needed to happen, especially because this particular iteration of the project was via a DigiDay, which meant the girls' first day was at home. And they completed basically writing their stories within, it was 48 hours. They had to write, illustrate, as well as complete their children's book. And so that there was no way we would have been able to do this project without using Teams as an ecosystem.
Oh, and that brings us to, we wouldn't be able to do that without shared files. So the background
100%.
and the backbone of Teams is that you're sharing your files anywhere, always, all the time. And I have Teams and OneDrive on my phone and on my tablet, like I said earlier. So what is OneDrive? It's your personal filing cabinet in the cloud. Your files go everywhere you go. You can log into office.com with your school account. You can use it in the Teams app, which I'm going to show you now. I have to say, even in hospital, I was looking for a file to find somebody and share. You cannot say you left it at home, unlike my marking, which I'll leave on my desk today. They automatically backed up. So I can tell you, we've heard teachers' laptops be stolen. And the best thing that they've smiled about is you literally log onto another device and everything is there. And OneDrive is the foundation that Teams is built on. It is the part in the shared of the teams.
Mm-hmm. And this particular picture is actually with my grade 12 written portfolio. When I was head of department, we had to obviously collate the portfolio for all our girls, all our students. And we had a digital portfolio, so it meant that we had to have everything uploaded into a shared folder, and we then shared this link with our external moderator, and they were able to look at all the assessments we've done, all the moderation across all our prelim exams, as well as our ranked class lists from a written portfolio in terms of the top to bottom, middle. So for us, this is the fact that we're able to have all our files at one click on a server it's life-changing.
And with my portfolios, they have to be submitted to the moderator digitally. I actually send them a share link, or they send me a share link and they upload it. So this is just a different team that I'm in, and you can have more than one account. Here is the icon for Teams OneDrive, because if I showed you my OneDrive, it's very cluttered and There's lots of data in there. I will show you, but just to share because it's easier. So when you open OneDrive, you can create or upload. This is obviously in the Teams version. If I go to my files, there are my files. This is today's presentation. If I click on it, I can make it the pretty tab color, and I can click on it and I can manage access, which means I can just see who's got access, but I can click on share and I could send it to Carl, which over here, this is an eye view. So that means he can see only what's in the folder, but he can't edit it. There is that he can edit it, and then there is view but can't download. So if you want them to just look at it but not take a copy, you can change it to this option. But I want him to edit it. I can send him a message, but I also can just copy the link. Okay.
And post it in a chat.
And then I can go to the chat and I can find Carl by typing Carl's message in. So if you're in one ecosystem, I can type, oh, sorry, Carl, here is the link for today.
Perfect. And there your message just popped up on my screen.
Carl will get a message, it goes bold. Carl can put it in, he can see what's happening. These views do change slightly, but I can drive it all for OneDrive and I can color and name it. This is because I put the date in front of things, because I found that that is very useful for me. I also, if I can get into my OneDrive here, I use numbers in my files because that makes life simpler. So I have folders. I have folders where I put what I have so that they go in the order, because I don't like alphabetical order. I wanted the things that I'm using the most at the top, and it doesn't work as 11. As you can see, it's 0 and then 1, 2, 3. So all the most important things I put noughts first, and then I've got 9 options. So they're like in groups. Then it's personal documents and invoice. Then my family members are 2. So if I go to my school one, there is, if I go to teaching, there is all my, the ones that are at the top is grade 10, 11, and 12, then my cluster, then the exam papers, so that it stays in the order that I want it in. You can change the tab colors in a normal OneDrive. Now we're looking at OneDrive in File Explorer. And of course, you can look at File Explorer in the web. Carl, while I log on, won't you just talk about sharing?
Sure. We also are at the 4-minute mark.
Yes.
Okay, so in terms of the sharing files, the one thing that's really great about it, obviously Linda showed you as in the breakdown in terms of the dialog box that pops out. You can share it with anyone in your in terms of that right across different schools. You can make the link shareable to anyone. So if they've got that particular link, they're able to log in and they can share your file. Or you can share it with people within your organization, as well as only people with existing access. So you can specify the people that have the access to it, and then people you specifically choose, and you've got different functionality there. This was within my drama department. I was sharing a file with my colleague, and then I can do the drop down and I can choose whether they can edit it, whether they can just view it, or whether they can they aren't able to download it as well. And the sharing files is really what makes the ecosystem sort of as convenient as possible. because you're not working on 5 different, I spoke right about at the beginning of the session in terms of running a department, and that it meant that we were working on, each of us would be working on the latest document, or we would necessarily consolidate that document, save it as the final draft, and then we would create a question paper from that doc.
So this is the web version of it, and I can go to OneDrive. I can go to my same files. I can go to home, which has the information, and I can even access the files that are in my channels of my teams here, and I can change, upload, do whatever I need to do with them. So it is the background, and there's one other thing. So if I have a document, which is, I think it will let me put 2 PowerPoints on the same screen. So I also, because this presentation that Carl and I are working from, you can see Carl is here. Carl, I gave him a share link to this document, this actual link, and Carl and I could work on it, and I can even see which slide Carl is on, so he could see, and he can see LC for me. And if we both worked on the same slide, I can see what he's doing and he can see what I'm doing, and that stops all the versions together.
And this is for learners alike. This is such an incredible tool. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've done group work, and they share the link, and they're working on a different document, and they're able to work on the same collaborative document. It really just takes that one-to-one concept away, and sort of looks at the cohesive element as well. So I think, Lyneth, we've got 1 minute left, and I know that we're pretty much at the end of all our content.
So one thing is that you can do this week is you can log in, try one team, one channel, one class, join one, post an announcement instead of sending an email, play in the area. You can log on to Microsoft Learn and do any of these 3.
I've dropped the links in the chat.
Courses, which is Teams for Education, and the third one is Microsoft's Learn platform, where they have resources, and Jacobus put the link for registration in the chat earlier, and I saw, Carl, you reposted it. So yes. With like no seconds to spare, but you're welcome to still ask questions. We understand that if people have to drop off, I didn't even leave 30 seconds for you, Jacobus, if you want to say something. So if you're even still there behind all my screens.
I am still here.
Oh, and he's got his camera on. Yay.
So just from my side, Lyneth, thank you, and Carl, thank you very much for the session. I think it's very evident from what you've shown us today that Teams can really be a one-stop shop. You can do an incredible amount with it, and I think it's always good to find those tools, the tools that you're able to use for a variety of things. You don't have to hop, skip, and jump between different things. So it's great to see all the many different ways that you've applied it in your school, in your environment, and to give our teachers an idea of what they could be doing. But I like that idea that you've put there, what can you do today? Or what can you do this week? The small baby steps you need to start taking to get you there. Because I'm sure everything you showed us today didn't just happen overnight. This is a long process of learning, of discovering what you can do. So thank you very much for sharing some of, and I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg, but thank you for sharing some of that expertise with our teachers today.
Well, we hope they enjoyed it and they learned something. And like I said at the beginning, we just keep learning and adapting and finding what works for us, because that is the trick. Yes, there's lots of tools, but what works for you that helps your life be easier and smarter and solves those problems that you're trying to solve in your classroom, in your admin. So on the screen, but I think we will be back. Kobus,
Yes.
Is it the same group of people in the other sessions?
Yes, we're going to see you for one or two of the other sessions that we have still left. So on that note, I just want to also say to the participants, if you haven't registered for other sessions, this is the first of 9 sessions that we have as part of this pathway that we're doing. So we're going to see our wonderful facilitators for a few more of those as well still down the line. Tomorrow, I don't think you're joining us tomorrow. We've got another set of facilitators for tomorrow. So if you have not yet registered for those sessions, you can find the links to that on that same link for the attendance register. You'll see there's a multi-link there for the Copilot pathway. Jump in there and register for those, and you should receive your links to join those sessions as well. So I hope I see all of you tomorrow again. I'm going to stop the recording now. I'm going to switch off my camera and my mic. But for the participants, if you have questions, use the chat. Ask the questions. Our facilitators are still here for a little bit. Lynette, I don't know, Carl.
Yes, sure.
I'm assuming you're at school, so at some point you want to pack up and go home. Carl, I think you should go help Lynette with the marking. It sounds like her kids are keen to get the marking, but she's keen to leave it at school. So I'm not going to make choices for you here. But yes, I'm just going to turn as I said, stop the recording, camera, mic off. And please, participants, you're welcome to ask them a few questions while they are still here.
And as soon as the recording is available, it will appear in the chat and you'll all have access to the recording. I see there's a couple of people that have asked questions about that. So just come back to the chat. You've been a part of the meeting and you'll see that there will be a recording after the session. You'll receive a message.
If Jacobus publishes it.
We will publish it, but we'll also send you an email with a recording if you struggle to get to it in the chat.
Okay, there's a hand. KJ. Sorry, I can't. Karen. There. I allowed your mic, so you should be able to unmute yourself. You should be, Karen.